Drums, creating conversations with the world's top drummers in the most extreme genres. This episode is brought to you by Los Cabos Drumsticks, Canada's #1 choice for drumsticks. They provide the wood you need to make the beats you deserve. Los Cabos Drumsticks. Now with your host, Corey Hoffing.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the We're Talking Drums podcast. I am your host, Corey Hoffing. Welcome to episode 77. If this is your first time listening and or watching, then welcome. You know, if you're on your drive to work, if you are on your drive home, or if you're just hanging out, then thanks for tuning in. If you are listening to this episode early, that's right, you can get all these episodes before they're released to the public. Head on over to our Patreon page. It's patreon.com/We're Talking Drums today. You can sign up for free, or it is simply just $2 Canadian a month, and it goes to support everything that we do here at We're Talking Drums. So I greatly appreciate it. You get the episodes early, and I will be posting pre-episode taping so you can get questions in for some of your favorite drummers. And I'll guarantee it that some of our upcoming episodes are with some pretty heavy hitters, and pun intended, but you're gonna want a chance to ask your questions to these guests. Okay, so head on over to the Patreon, sign up today. I love you for it. Thank you in advance. Also, goes without saying, we're on Instagram. Go give us a follow. YouTube, subscribe, comment, let me know your thoughts on this week's episode and any other episodes you may have watched. You know, always looking to improve the podcast. Ask the questions that you're looking for answers to. Okay? If you are listening to this podcast between March 15th and May 4th, then I am on tour. That's right, my band Letharo drops our brand new record, Chasing Euphoria, out via Atomic Fire Records on March 15th, and we are hitting the road immediately. We're doing a big old North American tour with Raven and Vicious Rumors. So check the dates. If I'm coming to your city, let's meet up. Let's hang out. Looking for, you know, any recommendations on good coffee shops, good vegan restaurants, and good drum shops. I want to check out some cool local drum shops in local cities that I'll be playing in. Just to check out some gear, you know? It's always fun times checking out all the gear that you can't afford while on tour, you know? All right. This week's episode is with the one and only Mathew Kohanowski. All right, he plays for the Deathcore band Euclid out of Connecticut. We had a super fun chat, as always. This is the first time we really got to talk. We've been chatting back and forth about doing an episode for a while, so it was awesome to get to sit down with Matt. We talked a lot about like the recent climate of the music industry, and I guess more specifically the metal music industry, and how things are going, how small bands can utilize social media and content creation over the idea, I guess the old school idea of just touring endlessly and playing to nobody and eventually gaining fans that way. We talked about his time in Shadow of Intent and Oceano. He was the drummer for both those bands for a number of years, and the difficulties of playing in multiple touring bands. I know a lot of you drummers out there play in multiple bands and at various levels, and it's a good insight into the struggles that come with it. Even though it is a lot of fun, like it does get to be very, very difficult. And I just want to give, before we get into this episode, I want to give a little warning. When we are talking about blast beats, because obviously we talk about blast beats, I did make a slip up, okay? I'm not going to tell you exactly what it was, but I want you to find out where I went wrong and let me know in the comments, okay? I definitely made a mistake, and I realized it after we were done, and I want you to tell me where I went wrong with this one, okay? All right. Here's my conversation with Mathew Kohanowski from Euclid. Mathew Kohanowski, welcome to the We're Talking Drums podcast. How you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing pretty good.
That's excellent. How's the weather where you are? Because you're in Connecticut, right?
Yes. It actually decided to randomly snow last night while I was leaving work. So it stopped now, but yeah, we're just kind of getting these random snowstorms. It'll be like 50 degrees the day before, and then it'll automatically just start doing that. So very random, very random.
Yeah, it sounds like you guys have like kind of similar weather to us up here. I'm just outside of the Toronto area in Hamilton, Ontario.
Gotcha.
Yeah,
Okay.
and like, dude, like this past week we got the first actual snowfall. So we actually have snow on the ground, and it's so strange because it's mid-February.
And it's
like,
the first time for you guys?
Yeah, we got one snowfall, I think, in January, but like none of it stayed. So
Gotcha.
And then like since then it's been like plus 10, plus 12 degrees here, and this is all Celsius.
Oh, wow.
So I don't know what that would be in
Fahrenheit. Yeah, I'm not sure.
Probably around like 50 or 55 or something like that, right?
Somewhere around there, I would think.
Yeah. So finally, like, we're finally getting winter, and then apparently this coming week it's supposed to warm up again. It's just like, dude, what is happening?
It does not make any sense at all.
Yeah. Do you guys usually get a lot of snow down there?
So it's weird. We, I think the past couple of years, it's been very, very different, where we would go through, like the end of fall. So like going into October through November and through December into the next year, we would not get any snow at all at the end of the year, when we used to get massive snowstorms around the end of every year. Now what happens is these random snowstorms don't start hitting until, around this time, January, February, or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's weird because like we're not, you would think we would know by now to expect it, and we're not, we just don't. So, I mean, I don't know. It just, the past couple of years have been like that, but it used to be like massive blizzards at the end of every year. So this is just like, I mean, it's great. I don't have to worry about having an issue driving to work every day or anything like that. But yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, man. Because even the last couple years, I've just like, and I grew up in Canada. I grew up with like snow like 4 or 5 months out of the year, and the last couple of years, I've just been like, man, I want to move to Florida. Like, I'm done.
Oh.
I'm done with this snow. I'm done with this cold. Like, I just want the heat all year round.
Dude, I mean, I could tell you, I almost moved to Florida 3 times over the course of like the past, I don't know, somewhere around 10 years.
Oh yeah.
And every time that I tried to move there, the plan was thwarted by something, whatever it was.
Yeah.
But I could tell you right away, like when I was spending a lot of my time there, because I used to be in a band called Dealey Plaza, and they were from the Fort Myers area. Walking outside, and my hands would instantly just start clamming up from the humidity.
Mm-hmm.
I would just want to run right back inside into the AC. I hated it. I couldn't stand it.
Yeah.
It was so bad. But I prefer summer. I love hot weather. You know, if we could have that 6 months out of the year here, I'd be happy. But Florida can be a little rough with the humidity.
Yeah,
you know?
I guess you're right. I don't know why my go-to is always Florida. Maybe because it's still in the same time zone. So I'm just like, oh yeah, it just makes sense. I'll just head directly south. Realistically, like when I'm on tour and stuff, Arizona is
like places with dry heat, like the dry heat. I get it.
Man. Arizona
That's
weather,
not so bad.
I'm always excited when I get to like Phoenix or something like that. Like it's a good day. You know, even if the show's not very good, I'm like, I don't care. Like I'm doing a workout outside, even though I haven't worked out in months. I'm like, I'm just, I'm feeling great because of the weather. So
gotcha.
Yeah. So I guess where you guys are, the winter is kind of a great time to be writing, recording, doing that type of stuff. Because I know here it's like, okay, we're not touring, we're not doing gigs or anything like that. We're just gonna live in our studio and write because there's nothing else to do. Like, dude, I don't understand bands like touring in January in Canada and shit like that. Like, it's insane out there.
Yeah, I mean, we as far as Euclid and I, we have been spending most of the end, from the end of 2023 till now. We spent a lot of that time because we didn't want to really go out and try to play too many shows, especially not being able to see what the weather was going to do and all that. So we spent a lot of our time just, writing and putting together some, the new material and stuff like that. I think we're sitting on at least 5 or 6 new ideas aside from the 3 songs that we had already written. So it's a good time to be productive for sure. You know?
Yeah, definitely. And that's great because you guys just released a new album last year, right?
Yes. Yep. Revilement.
Yeah.
It's probably been close to, I think it'll be a year in the middle of this year, I think already that it's been out.
Yeah.
And, the reception on it's been pretty good. We've been very surprised with how everything's been doing just in a very natural way. It's not like, most new bands, they just kind of have to work their way from the bottom, from the ground up and building, their foundation from there. And I think in the small amount of time that we have spent, putting all of this together, all the content that went along with it, it's been a pretty good outcome so far, for sure.
Yeah. This like kind of like climate that we live in now for bands is so strange because like me growing up and like I started my first like serious band in 2006 and it was just known like, okay, you need to play shows, you need to record an album, and you need to tour. And it doesn't matter like if you have a label or you have anything like that. Like that's just what you do. You book. And for us, it was like, oh, we just go across Canada, because
Right.
visas are expensive and trying to book in the States was not really feasible for us at that
Mhm.
time. So like that's what we did. And it was as fun as it was. Like nowadays, it is a lot more feasible for you to grow your audience online, like be able to have a fan base and
Mhm.
then go out and tour, and you already
Yeah.
have a fan base out there. Rather for us, like, dude, our first Canadian tour, we were showing up to venues and the venues wouldn't even like know that there was a show booked, and we were playing to like just the bar staff. Like it was just,
Oh my God.
yeah, it was just it was like small little dive bars everywhere. Like it was an absolute nightmare. But we kept
Wow.
doing it every year. We would go back, hit the same venue, the same cities, and eventually by the time we got to our last one, it was like, okay, all these turnouts are good. We're actually like starting to make money.
Right.
Until we eventually got signed and then got on like legit tours that we didn't have to book ourselves. But given that climate, do you think that like now it is a better idea for bands, or like more so, like how are you guys approaching this from the standpoint of like, okay, like you're writing songs, you're recording, you're producing content, and then just like making use of social media and YouTube to grow your audience until maybe the opportunities come, or I guess the flip side of that, are you guys just like so hungry for the road that you'd be willing to like just book your own tours and see what happens?
So definitely not hungry for the road. It's just in all honesty,
Yeah.
all of us work regular jobs, um, and I know what most people would say, that if they had been given the opportunity to go out on the road, and quit their job, most people would probably be like, yeah, I would do that. Me, however, it's not really that kind of situation for me. So like
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't do that necessarily, but because I did it before. I did it, over the course of 5 years with Oceano. So I mean, I was constantly trying to find jobs coming home, and then quitting, right before a tour, if I even got one, and it just it got to be too much. So
Yeah.
I would say that, um, the strategy I would follow or prefer to follow when it comes to, especially when it comes to growing a band, a new band, um, in the most organic way possible, um, nowadays at least, is to focus more on the music that you're putting out. Make sure that you're getting, the good production values and all of that stuff going into it. Um, the content, so your music videos, your lyric videos, your playthroughs, instrument playthroughs, vocal playthroughs, all of that stuff. Um, and then as well as merch, if you have the funds and stuff to be able to afford that, and put, get a leg up on getting the merch game going, and focus on those things, you will see that fan base grow without having to be, I guess you could say, in the trenches of going out and touring like constantly just to try to get noticed. I feel like this is the way now to really grow that foundation faster. And
Yeah.
that way, when you go out and you start playing shows and you see a turnout that you did not expect, it's a huge payoff. It really like makes you feel like, okay, like this is progress. Like this is really working,
Yeah, for sure.
Back in the day, I mean, I would say, before we had, a lot of this social media stuff where all the internet hype and all that stuff was important. It was about just going right out there, getting your name out by going out on the road and doing that. And it's just, I feel personally that it's just not that way anymore.
Yeah,
It's just not the easiest.
MySpace could only get you so far, and it would only work for certain bands, But yeah, like it's the crazy thing, because more and more guys these days are just like, yeah, I don't really want to tour,
Mm-hmm.
like it's not really the thing they strive for. When like growing up, like that is all I wanted to do, and maybe
that's the dream. Yeah.
Right. But like
I mean,
it's so hard to be able to make a living on tour unless you're the headliner,
right.
even like support bands, even playing the big crowds and stuff. Like you're not raking in the money, and the amount of money you have to put up front to be able to do a large tour like that is insane.
Yeah. I mean, I could say I don't necessarily want to throw touring like completely under the rug, but because like I would love to do specifically like European festival circuits.
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like that would be ideal, especially when you get to play with people that, you look up to, your heroes, like I feel like that should be like, that would be my dream personally.
Yeah.
It's like, I wouldn't rule that out at all. But as far as just like, touring the States constantly, over and over again, you got to think, those same people that came out to see you that one time you were there, and then you're back there the next year, or maybe not even the next year, maybe like 6 months out from when you were there last.
Yeah. Or even 2 months out.
Right.
Some bands
it could be even
relentlessly.
Yeah. And you could just only imagine what that would do. Like, oh, well, I just saw them this time, so I'm not going to go this time. Or there's another show that's happening like 2 days prior to this one. I'm going to go to that one instead.
Yeah.
So, you may see those numbers start to kind of fall down a bit. And for some people, out there, it probably could be pretty discouraging to see that.
Yeah. I've seen it happen to bands, like where they just tour the same markets too often, and they end up not growing their fan base. Like it just gets to a plateau, and that's it. And then on the other side as well, the people themselves, because we are human, like they end up getting burnt out. And and members start dropping off, and then you have your band like in shambles, and you're like, how are we supposed to keep doing this?
Right.
Like when you're touring 8 months out of the year, and it's like almost seems like it's nonstop, like you're just going tour to tour to tour to tour, and you have management and booking agents pushing you to do this because the offers are there, and you don't want to let your team down by saying no. But at the end of the day, like I've witnessed it, like friends of mine, just their bands fall apart, and members specifically like just like can't deal with it because it is hard and stressful out there.
It's a rock and a hard place kind of situation for most too, because you got to think some of these people, like if they don't have like work from coming home, so they also depend on the touring to be their income.
Yeah, big time.
So it's just like it's a double-edged sword.
Yeah,
like I don't know. It could be very, very stressful and very discouraging a lot of the time. And that's why I myself, like, especially with this band, you know, our main focus is to do things on our own terms and not have someone tell us what to do per se, but, you know, just, we want this to not only be a business, but it to be fun and also a commodity that, you know, if somebody hears this band and see that we're not around or as accessible in the way of playing shows constantly, I feel like they would want to see us more, because we're also backing all of that up with the content and the music and whatever it is else that we put out when we don't play.
Yeah. You're
You know what I
building the
mean?
hype, and then you're not over saturating the markets and playing there all the time. And if you come around once a year, you know, like that, like, and over that year, you're on the socials doing the content, you're building hype around that, everyone's seeing it, and you're gonna double your crowds every time you come around. You know? And a lot of people, like a lot of the old school guys, kind of shit on the idea of not touring and not grinding. And they're like, oh, you have to pay your dues and everything like that. But it's like, man, have you tried to just produce content for like on that scale of things? Like, it is fucking hard, man. That is a grind in itself. You know, like, people are just like, oh, you just sit at home, make videos and blah, blah, blah. It's like, dude, try it.
It's not, trust me, it is not that easy.
No,
you know,
man.
you have to, you get so in your head about it. Like, I for one, as a drummer, can be, which I'm sure I'm not the only one. You know, I'm a perfectionist, and, you know, if there's more than, you know, a couple flubs in something that I make, you know, I'm like instantly programmed to think like, damn, like, this is shot. Like, I gotta do it over.
Yeah.
You know,
there was one
and
trigger on the double, and it was like, no, I gotta do it again.
It's the worst, you know, but at the same time, I also use it as motivation to push me to be better, you know, to make sure I nail every hit or every note that I possibly can. But at the same time, I'm not going to be not human either. You know, I have, like, in the past, especially with my touring career, I was a lot more focused on every show being good every night. Like, if it's not good, like, I'm going to be, you know, fucking pissed off about it, most likely.
Yeah.
But, you know, I learned to kind of just like put that aside, put that away, and just be like, you know what, man, like, the whole point of you going on stage and seeing that crowd and you playing to them is to have fun. That's supposed to be the fun part, you know? So if you make a mistake or something like that, so what? Because guaranteed, if you're good, if you have a lot of talent and skill, and, you know, if somebody comes up to you after that show and says, hey man, I checked you guys out, like, you were so good, like, that was insane, great set. That just kind of makes that discouraging feeling, that pissed off feeling that you may get from feeling like you didn't do good, that just kind of makes it go away.
Yeah.
And it makes you feel a whole lot better about it.
It does.
So,
I always got to like fight my urge whenever I like know I didn't have a good set and someone comes up and it's just like, dude, that was so amazing and like, you're incredible, and I gotta fight that urge to be like, no, I'm not, like, and just tell them like, no, I fucked this up, that, like, this last part was off time, like, I dropped 4 sticks, you know, and you just gotta like accept, like, let that positivity in and help it, and then because you can't change the set you had. The only thing
No.
you can do is maybe realize what you didn't do to prepare properly. And maybe it was just an off day, especially on the
Yeah.
road. You have them, like, again, like, getting back to it, like, it's tiring. It's a grind, playing shows every night, driving, like, everything like that. So you have off shows, but just try to accept the positivity from the fans. And
Yes.
like, just
Absolutely.
don't beat yourself up about it. Because at the end of the day, too, and it was Dave McIntosh, the I think original drummer of Dragon Force, told me years ago, and it still stays with me. It's like, it's not your individual performance that everybody's listening to. It is the band as a whole. And as long as the entire band came across as like a unit and the songs were played,
and it's solid.
Yeah, overall great. They're not going to notice that one flub you had in that one fill that happened for like half a second. Like, nobody's noticing that. So don't beat yourself up about it, and just, you know, always try to perform your best, but they're hearing the band as a whole. So the band, every member together, not each individual member. So it's one thing that I've always kind of like thought about whenever I mess up on stage. Like, okay, don't beat yourself up about this. We're just going to keep playing the set and not try to fuck up anymore.
Yeah. I actually used the opportunity to, you know, like, I'll put my camera out so I could at least, you know, film some parts of the set. And even if you did mess up a couple times, you know, you could still cut clips out of it and use it for, you know, for your content later if you have to. You know, there's always something that can be salvageable out of that. So,
and a lot of the times, the parts that you think that you messed up the worst, you rewatch it and you're like, oh, that wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Like, that sounded fine. I don't know why I was like beating myself up about it. You know?
Definitely.
Like, so it's crazy, man. All right, you know what? Let's dive into some drum stuff. When did you get started playing drums?
Oh, I actually love telling this story just because, like, I feel like a lot of drummers kind of had their own way about going into it, you know, getting involved in the instrument. And I don't know, I love telling this story. But when I was 10 years old, and I had moved a couple towns away from where I am right now. And I was just meeting, you know, all of my neighbors and people that had soon become, like, you know, best friends of mine growing up. And one of them, his father used to play in a punk band in the 80s. I think they were called the Wild Hares or something like that.
Nice.
And it was very, very like, I want to say like very Black Flag-ish, like kind of punk. So it was, you know, it was pretty solid, you know, but it's a punk band. Like, you don't have to be the best band ever. Like, it's punk. Like, that's kind of the whole point.
Yeah, it's more about the attitude behind it.
Right.
You know?
So, they had long since disbanded, and the father had like a bar band where they would play like cover songs of like pop, you know, what was considered pop punk bands of that time, you know, like Green Day and The Offspring and, you know, stuff like that, I guess. And they had the whole like setup in their basement, and I'll never forget it. It was a black Tama Swingstar kit. Nice. And it had like Zildjian cymbals all around. And I remember just like walking into his house, and I saw that drum set, and I was just like, I want to sit down and play. And of course, you know, the first thing I tried to play was Smells Like Teen Spirit, because that's That's like kind of I feel
Of
like that's
course.
kind of like the go-to song for like any drummer who's never played drums in their life to start trying to play.
Yeah, and probably
And
especially around that time too, that song would have
yeah,
been like pretty big. So, you know,
yeah.
yeah,
So, I mean, I was horrible. I was terrible.
of course. Yeah. But you
You
think
know,
you're doing great because
yeah.
it feels good, right?
You know,
So
my buddy's telling me to shut up, like just stop, and that it's really bad. And I just kind of like knew right then and there, like I want a drum set. Like, so I got one for Christmas that next year, and it was the same kit, a black Thomas Swing Star, newer, but I wanted that kit. And I would spend 5 to maybe 6 hours a day. Because keep in mind, I was only a little kid, so like I didn't have responsibilities or anything like that. So like
right? Yeah.
I would, it was such a simpler time. I would just spend all of that time down there in that basement just playing drums. And I would try to learn everything by ear. And I was self-taught to the max. Like I never had a lesson in my life, really. And all of that time of just playing for 5-6 hours a day, give or take a couple of years later, like that skill started to kind of show, and it started to pay off. And I think probably around I want to say I was in middle school, probably 7th grade. I met one of my friends and we decided to form a band. It wasn't really a band, it was just us two. And we would play our school talent shows for each year that we, 7th and 8th grade. And it just kind of went from there. Like I didn't want to do anything but just play drums.
Yeah.
At all. And that's pretty much it.
Yeah. That's crazy, man. Like I think every drummer kind of knows that first time where they realize like, no, like I want to play drums. Like that's it.
Yeah.
Like for me, I think it was I played hockey growing up, obviously from Canada, played hockey.
Yeah.
We had like a team party and the guy's house that was at, he had a drum kit in his like living room common area type thing, and like they let everyone just like play it for a while, and as soon as I played it and I was just like, yeah, I want to do this, like it just like there's just like this weird feeling that comes over you that you're just like, this is sick, like I suck, I know I suck, that's fine though, I could do this for hours, I could do this all night,
Mm-hmm.
But like obviously my dad was there as well, and he's like, that was so annoying and loud, like not happening. So here's a guitar. You can plug headphones into your amp and play all you want. But I always had it, like I always had the itch, even because I was a huge Blink-182 fan. So Travis Barker was like the coolest. He was the coolest kid on the block, like, and I always just like, I always wanted to play drums, but never had the chance until one of my bands was like, yeah, we need to find a drummer. And I was like, I'll just do it.
Yeah.
That's it. Like, this is my chance. I'm going to play drums.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I would say it was probably Joey Jordison for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Big Slipnot
definitely.
guy.
I strived as a kid to make sure that I could play all the songs from Iowa in its entirety.
Oh, wow.
I would practice those songs every day. And, it's funny because up until now, like I never tried to like, I think I maybe did like one little clip on my E-kit like a couple years ago of me playing People Equal Shit. And I never really like did anything aside from that, like trying to play those songs or do like full length covers of them or anything like that. And I probably should,
Yeah.
but yeah, that was my guy.
Yeah.
And I was really, it was really unfortunate that he passed away, because like that was a dream of meeting him and just talking shop about what it was like to do what he did, and pretty much be on top of the world at that point in time. I just wanted to hear that, those stories.
Yeah,
So,
man, it's very, very unfortunate.
Yeah.
It must have been a really, really crazy time.
Absolutely.
Like Slipknot at their hype was was madness, man.
Yeah. It took me forever to even see them live. I didn't see them live until 2019, when they came around for Knotfest with Gojira and Behemoth. I did not see them up until that point. I don't know why. I think as time went on, I started with new metal when I started playing drums, and then probably like 12 or 13, I started getting into Cannibal Corpse and death metal. And so I think I kind of just like grew out of it a little bit.
Yeah.
And I just didn't care to go see them or anything like that. And then he passed away, and I'm just like, oh shit. Like I never got to see that,
Yeah.
So it is what it is. But, I'm just glad that I was able to catch them, in 2019 when I did, so I could say that I did it finally after all that time.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've only seen them once. I want to say it was like 2018. I never got into the new metal stuff. I went like heavy into punk rock and hardcore and post-hardcore and all that type of stuff, to like the Iron Maiden, Judas Priest, and then into melodic death metal, eventually death metal, like the usual progression on that side. But it was like punk rock that got me like into more aggressive and heavy music, and like genre specific music, I guess, right? Because before that, as you're a kid, you're like, oh, whatever's on the radio is cool, like you're just listening. You're still trying to figure out what you actually like. And then it wasn't until like high school where I'm like, nah, man, punk rock is sick. And then it's like, all right. Then my older brother got me into metal and stuff. So like I never got into Slipknot. They put on an insane live show though.
Oh, for sure.
Their live show is fucking incredible. So,
one of the best there is.
I think, man. Yeah, it's up there. Like it was nuts just to watch. Like, music aside, the music's great and everything. Like it is. Like they perform well and like all that, but like just like everything about the show, the amount of energy they have, like all of that is just crazy.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Yeah, I was hoping when you were telling that story, you're like, yeah, and that's why it's an honor for me to say I'm the new drummer of Slipknot. I just like how that became, like,
I'm not going to say
anything. the news cycle thing, though. Like when Jay, I guess when they parted ways with him and everything, it was just like every day it was like, oh, this member left. He's the new drummer of Slipknot. Oh, this guy's the new drummer. Like, why are you trying to guess? Just let it be.
I think it's just like it's a revolving door so much.
Yeah.
That it's just kind of like whatever, I'm not going to say anything, but it's just like, I don't know, like if I had the opportunity to do it, I'd probably take it. Like, who wouldn't,
Right.
But at the same time, I don't know, I guess when you hear all the all the drama and all that stuff, you're kind of like, well, I wouldn't want to be like that part of it. Like, I don't want, I feel like that's just like, I couldn't deal with that.
Yeah.
In
like
all honesty.
The sad part is when you're in a band that size, that kind of just comes with the territory.
It does.
Like
it does.
You have to put up with the media and the drama and like all of that type of stuff. It just, it's a part of it, and it's the same thing with like people when they like celebrities and stuff, when they just get famous, they're like, oh, well, I never wanted the paparazzi around or anything like that. It's like, that's part of this whole thing though, with being in a band that size, there's such a spotlight on you, and everybody says that like, oh, you couldn't turn down that opportunity, but like how many people could actually perform under that pressure, or
that's
like,
where like between that and like you say, the pressure of being in a band that size, like I don't know if I could do it, given the music itself, because it's not easy. It's not easy at all, and trying to, at the same time, you're also having to try and step into the shoes of the people that were there before you.
Yeah.
And to try to you're going to want to compete with that, because you kind of have to, in order to solidify your position. And I feel like that would just be way too much pressure. Way too much.
It'd be a lot. And like, that's why I think like somebody like Slipknot, when they're looking for a new drummer or anything like that, like, yes, you have to be able to play the stuff, but there's the whole other mental side of things that they need to make sure that this person is prepared for that,
Right.
So I don't see them just like taking a YouTube guy and being like, oh yeah, come play drums for us. Like, I don't see that being a thing, like they're going to take somebody who's been in the industry a long time, who's played on those massive stages and maybe had the spotlight on them, or at least like understands like the ins and outs of the industry in that way,
Right.
So like, I think that's like a must for a band that size, for them to want to keep somebody around. If they just want some press, then maybe like hire a guy knowing that it'll only be like 6 months or a year, but yeah, I don't know. It's crazy. It is, man. It's a crazy fucking world that I don't know. This whole like climate of everything in the music industry right now is so messy. Like,
it is. I can definitely say that. I don't know. Maybe if I didn't know the things that I know now about it, I would say differently. But seeing how things are the way that they are now, it's very just like, you almost kind of have like an elite few that are like at the top of the food chain as far as bands go. And you have like the lower tier that everybody's just kind of underneath, and they're all just like grinding and doing what they can to, I don't know, just be relevant in today's climate. And it's just like that's just the way I see it, and I'm not trying to like dog anybody at all by saying that. It just kind of like looks like that from what you see on like the publications and stuff, like Metal Sucks and Metal Injection and stuff like that. It just kind of like seems that way. And I don't know. I mean, I try not to pay attention to too much of that stuff. I just want to do my thing. I just want to play drums, make music, and just be happy about it. That I'm still doing it after all of this time.
Yeah.
And I want to still continue to do that, upon, being an old man. I want to be like 65 years old, still playing blast beats. Like,
Dude, yeah, the extreme drumming can catch up with you in the years.
Yeah. I mean, I'm trying to prepare for it as much as I possibly can.
Yeah.
I don't want to let myself go to the point where like I can't play any of that anymore. I still want to try to I want to see like what age is when that's enough. Like I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Or
exactly.
push it to that limit,
Yeah. Like
So-
I think I did too much damage in my younger years with extremely poor technique and everything that I'm starting to feel it now. And like I've been working as hard as I can to like re-teach myself different techniques and like really focus on that, because I'm like, no, I can't just go and play in like some like garage rock band or anything. Like, no, that's not something I can do. I always play drums, but I'm like, I still want to tour. I still want to write the most extreme stuff for my bands. Because like there's obviously going to be limitations to what you can do to complement the music, but I'm like, I'm still going to push to have as much blast beats in our music as possible, as much double kick as I can. And like,
dude, same.
Yeah,
it's funny. It's so funny because like my guys, like they'll be coming up with some of these new ideas and they'll send them my way, and the first thing that I notice is like no blast beats, no double kick. It's all like groove and stuff, lots of breakdowns with all that genty groove stuff, and I'm like, where's the blast beats?
Yeah.
Where are they? They're missing. They're gone. They're like, well, it's not, not a song that you would necessarily have them in. And I'd be like, well, that's bullshit. And I'm going to go ahead and find a way to put them in there.
Yeah. They're going to be in there whether you like them or not.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Like, and I'll make it sound sick. Promise. All right. That's all that matters. Yeah.
So far with the songs that we've had, that I've kind of had that, situation with, it's worked out. It's worked out okay. So I think we'll be all right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because also at a point, man, it's like people wouldn't expect blast beats here. So if you put them in, it's like, ooh, and if you make them work,
it'll flow. It'll flow as long as it flows. That's all that matters.
Yeah, exactly. And you'll catch people off guard. It'll be cool. People will like it. Don't worry about it. All right.
Yeah.
More blast beats. Do you have a favorite style of blast beat to play? Like bomb blast, traditional blast, diarrhea blast.
A diarrhea blast?
Apparently that's a thing. I don't know.
I don't think I've ever heard that term before.
Yeah, I feel like
look that up.
It's like a bomb blast, like eighth notes with the hands on the beat, but then like 16ths and like a brr, 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 like that kind of underneath it.
Okay.
I think.
See, I guess so? That makes sense. I would have thought it would just been like a gravity. On hands and feet, if anything. If I would have called it a diarrhea blast, but
I don't know. I think it's 6'6" Samus that came up with that one. So I can't take credit for it. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say like from the beginning, it was the like the Euro style, like on the ride cymbal.
Yeah.
That was kind of like the main thing. And then I got more comfortable with the Roddy blast. So it would just be like, on the ride.
Okay. Yeah.
I love, I don't know. It just, I feel like that's just become more comfortable. And I mean, and it sounds cool. Like, it sounds sick.
Dude, it sounds so sick.
Yeah. Especially at like higher speeds, like, Jaden Mason from Aversion's Crown. He's one of those guys. And I mean, he's doing it at like top fucking speed. And I love that. I think that's sick. And I try to emulate that as much as I can, but my left hand, which I'm kind of like trying to work on my technique with it, it's not as fast as my right. My right's the dominant hand. Yeah. So, but yeah, I think I would say in the past it would be the traditional like Euroblast, but now would be more of the Derek Roddy variation of that.
Nice.
For sure.
Yeah. No, I like that it is kind of just a variation. It's the same idea as the Euroblast, but you're just accenting on the ride in a different way, right? I think the first person I really saw like live do it was Eric Marotti, who's playing for Suffocation now. Yeah. But I was touring with his old band Calliteris, and just watching him do that, I was like, I need to learn how to do that. Yeah. Because like the Euroblast was never my thing. It didn't really fit. I never found a way to fit it into the music I was playing at the time. Now I love it. Like it feels so good when you're locked in and like you can groove with it. And then that's when that like bell accents and stuff like that come into play too. It allows you to have more groove in your blast. For sure. Like just like a traditional like bomb blast or anything, which can be a little more difficult to find groove in because it's supposed to be just punishingly heavy. So
most of the time I feel like, with a bomb blast actually specifically, like you got to have like the right riff for it, but with the, with like the Roddy blast, I would say like, you can kind of fit that into a lot of things you wouldn't normally be able to take, more the traditional style blast beats and just kind of throw them in there, I feel like you could use this a lot more with something that doesn't necessarily seem like the extreme blast beat would fit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, watching guys like Longstreth, he is insane.
He's a machine. He is a machine.
Maniac. Yeah. Watching him every night on the Summer Slaughter tour, I'm just like, and he's just doing that, just single note on the ride while he's just keeping that left hand going. And I'm just like, what the hell, man? And I eventually asked him on that tour, like how he did that. And he kind of showed me the way a little bit. And I just like, I don't know how he does that. He manages to keep time like that. It's just, he is an expert.
Yeah,
for sure.
Well, keeping that left hand on the ands without having that guide hand, it's like,
right. That's what I mean.
It is so difficult, Yeah. It takes a lot of practice, I guess. I guess you're supposed to practice those things.
Yeah. You're supposed to practice anything, like yeah, I mean it's a tough one for sure. Yeah. I've been trying to work on it as much as I can, when I think about it. Like, I don't know, when I sit down at the kit, I feel like I just kind of go for what's comfortable to me. And sometimes it's, it can be, you can kind of get in your head about it too, because you're just like, I feel like I'm playing the same things every time I sit down at the kit and I want to try something, different. And, that's just one of those things. Like, I'll kind of just like, all right, come on, we're getting we're getting ahead of ourselves here. Just playing the same stuff that like we're playing. Let's try something else. And like, I'll try working on that. Or I'll just sit there and just try to get my left hand, in tune with my right as much as I possibly can. And I've also been kind of like looking into the push pull, and it's so hard. It's so difficult. I thought like trying to learn doubles and heel toe was tough, but no, push pull for
pull's
sure.
A whole other beast. But it seems like when you get it, then it's just fluid. You're just there, right?
Doubles was like that for me, so maybe I'm just thinking, overthinking it a bit.
Yeah, I feel like that's kind of where I'm at with doubles right now too, where I just have to like, there's certain things I need to perfect about it, but it just seems like that fluidity in it is starting to like click. It's taken me a minute, but like, cause I was always swivel before, but I'm like, I can't keep doing this. Putting out so much energy. I'm just like, doubles. Let's go. Fuck it. I can learn it, right? You can teach old dogs new tricks.
Yeah, I got to tell you, because this is actually a pretty good story. I used to have Thomas Speed Cobras, and I was constantly just like on YouTube, just watching as many videos as I possibly could about learning heel toe and the double stroke technique. And I just wasn't getting it. I was not getting it at all. I couldn't find any like sweet spot on those pedals for me to be able to. And I don't know. I don't know what it was, but I just wasn't getting it. And, I got in touch with Trick over the course of, I think I was on tour with Shadow at the time. We were on tour with Whitechapel and Black Dahlia Murder. And I met Corey Sutton, who is one of the reps over at Trick. And he, at the time, I didn't get pedals from them yet. I was still using the Tamas, but he had hooked me up with a drive shaft to kind of fix some issues I was having with my pedals at the time. And then I finally got a set, and I had my Pro 1Vs for I want to say maybe 2 weeks. And I'm trying to get used to them and trying to play singles on them. And I have my settings all maxed out and everything. And I'm like, this is bad. Like my singles are, direct drive is so much different. Like I was not used to it at all.
Yeah.
I was so not used to it.
It takes a while. There's a learning curve for sure.
Oh yeah. So we go to Mexico, and we're playing with Rings of Saturn. It was Oceano and Rings of Saturn. And Mike Caputo, who just recently filled in for Job for a Cowboy. He played for Brand of Sacrifice. He was playing for Rings of Saturn at that time. We had our sound check, and I get off the stage, and we were sharing the kit that night.
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, I'm like, just not getting this at all. And he's just like, go up when I'm done sound checking, go up and try my pedals. Cause he was using the same tricks at that time as well.
Yeah.
And I went up there after they were done, and he's like, all right, so just put the center of your foot at the edge of the footboard, right at the edge. And you're basically just going to kind of like mash your feet in a heel toe motion. And instantly got it.
Yeah.
Instantly started playing doubles right then and there. I'm like, that's all it is? That's all it was?
That's it.
I'm like, man. You got to be kidding me. I was stressing out, like, throwing shit around my room and stuff, like trying to learn this. And that's literally all it took.
That was it. Yeah.
Couldn't believe it.
Caputo coming to the rescue.
Yeah.
Like, guys should be giving online courses on this shit. Yeah, he's
I
a master.
I will always give him the credit for me learning that, because it was such a crazy thing just for, having just a big issue with it over the years, like trying to learn it. And then it took that one instance, and that's all it took.
Yeah.
So in
There you
case
go.
Mike sees this, thank you.
Wow. Mike has been on the pod before, and I know he does listen often. So
Hell yeah.
yeah, I'll make sure. Shout out to Mike Caputo. All right.
Yes,
Legend.
absolutely.
Yeah. So I just want to touch on one thing. I know we got to wrap this up, but one thing that everybody always talks about is how drummers play in a million different bands. And you kind of just touched on the fact that you're touring with Shadow of Intent, and then the next second you're on tour with Oceano. Like, how difficult is it to play for not only two bands, but two bands of that like level of touring? Playing for Shadow of Intent and Oceano at the same time. I know it wasn't like for a decade long or anything,
Right.
but there was a moment where you were playing for both and touring with both bands.
Yes.
Like, how stressful is that if in your position to make that work?
Me personally, it was very stressful. I'm with neither of those bands anymore, and obviously, and I gotta give it up to Bryce for being able to handle that kind of workload, because I personally could not do it. It got to be so much pressure, and I think at the end of the day, what I was trying to kind of decide was what was going to work out for me better in the long run. And, and I don't know what that meant at the time. I still don't, to be honest with you, but, I had to pick, and I had to choose, and I had to choose wisely.
Yeah.
And, and that's just what it came down to. And, it was very hard for me. It was very hard for me to try to juggle both. Both had, touring conflicts and stuff like that. We actually did Chaos and Carnage, together. And I thought at the time that I was actually going to do double duty for it. Like, I was honestly, I was prepared for that.
Yeah.
I wasn't, looking back on it now, I'm kind of glad that I didn't do that. But, at that time, like, I was more than prepared to play twice. And, but it didn't work out. Didn't happen. So they had Anthony Barone fill in for me at the time, and then he ended up becoming their drummer. And then Anthony Barone went off, and did Beneath the Massacre, and amongst other amazing things that he's been doing.
Many other things.
Yeah. And then they got Bryce, and then Bryce is literally just like, if I could compare Bryce to something, it would be like a Swiss Army knife.
Okay.
He just like, he's got all the tools to be in as many bands as humanly possible, and just makes it work.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. It's just crazy to me. I love that man. I do.
Big shout out to Bryce Butler guy. Now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So
Bryce he's the best, man. And he just like brings such a great energy, like his drumming aside, like just him as an individual, like I want to somehow tour with Shadow just so I can like be around him every day, because his energy is just like infectious.
It's infectious. It's very infectious. I mean, I have never seen somebody so happy playing the meanest music, all while playing
Right.
it. I've never seen that before in a drummer. And I think that's kind of like that positive energy that he has. It sets himself apart from from a lot of people. And I just, I love that. I think that's great. Absolutely.
Yeah,
You
and
know?
sometimes that is kind of like what it takes, is just having that like positive energy, that positive attitude, that like the way that you carry yourself can get you those opportunities or into those places. As long as you can back it up by being a sick drummer or musician in any, as long as you're not a bass player, then because we don't like bass players around here, and they're not
Oh my
allowed to
God.
listen. So, yeah.
Oh, I love mine. Bass player Zach, I love him. He is actually he's an amazing bass player. I mean, just like I don't pay attention to much of that. I really don't pay attention to much of anything because I'm behind my kit. But
yeah,
watching him, man, like he's a rare breed. I don't know, like he's one of those that it's just interesting to watch. I'm just like, how does he do that?
Yeah. Those are rare. So
very rare.
Yeah,
very rare.
Keep him around.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Yeah, he's great.
Sick, man. All right. Well, we should wrap this up. We're about like an hour in here. Everybody go check out Matt's band, Euclid. Do you guys have any shows or anything coming up that you want to toss out there?
So we do have a show April 13th at the Webster in Hartford
Awesome.
with Dreamwake and Night Rider. It's Dreamwake's Spring Fling show. They throw this annual Spring Fling show every year. So that's gonna be kind of, that'll be cool. A very mixed bill. So a lot of different styles of music, or different styles of different genres and stuff like that. So that's gonna be kind of cool. We have some more that I can't necessarily talk about at the moment, but we do have some more shows lined up, and we have lots of content and new music, and just staying on that grind.
Yeah. So make sure you go follow them on the Instagram, YouTube. All the links to their socials will be down there, as well as Matt's personal ones. So make sure you go and follow them. Stay in tune, because these guys are absolutely sick, and I see a lot of big things coming for you guys in the next little bit, for sure.
Thank you, man.
Just the way you guys have been going, the grind that you're on, I could definitely see you guys blowing up in the near future. So
thank you, man. We're doing our very best,
How's that? Well, you guys already have a great following going, and I just see it getting bigger and bigger. So yeah, man. I appreciate you coming on and chatting with me today, brother. So it's great to get a face-to-face conversation, and hopefully we will meet in person one day soon.
Awesome. Yeah, sounds good, man.
Absolutely. Thanks for listening to the We're Talking Drums podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to share with your friends, and check out our Patreon for exclusive content and early episodes. Till next time, keep drumming.